everybody, I'm Elise from the blog LePetiteSaintCrochet.com, and today I'm coming to you from my back porch. You might hear some cars going by, but I wanted to share this. Surprised Jersey boy's not losing his mind. I wanted to share my brand new finished shawl that I just knitted. This is from a girl's best friend from Isabell Kraemer. I've got lots of tips and tricks and the review of the entire pattern. I'm also going to be sharing with you some of the tricky parts and what I learned so that if you're ready to make this shawl for your very own, you will be able to make it yourself. It's not as hard as it looks. And I love these pom-poms. I'm not a yarn collector per se. Now, if you were to come into my craft room, you might disagree with me and say, oh yes, you are a yarn collector, but let me explain a little bit. I typically buy yarn when I already have a project in mind. And so once I find a yarn that I know works for things that I like to make, like toys, I will usually buy a lot of that yarn in all of the different colors that I want to use, and I will buy it on sale. I'm not one of those that loves to just go wander into yarn shops and just pick out yarn haphazardly and just bring it home and not have a clue what I'm going to do with it. Now, I do have friends who love beautiful hand-dyed yarn and they love to collect it and use it as they find projects, but that's typically not how I work. But this yarn that I used to make this shawl was different. Over the summer, we visited a beautiful little southern coastal town, Beaufort, South Carolina. We went into a little knitting shop called Coastal Knitting. I did a video all about our trip down to South Carolina for the summer. I found this beautiful yarn. I didn't have a clue what I was going to do with it, but I knew I wanted it. It had all of the colors of the beach, and I just wanted to remember the trip, and so I bought the yarn. I had an idea that I wanted to knit a shawl for myself, but I really didn't know yet. So I came home and just sort of sat on it and didn't really think much about it. Then I began looking for a pattern for it, and I found a girl's best friend pattern by Isabell Kraemer. Now, initially I thought, well, this one's going to be way too hard for me. I can't do this. I'm so glad I talked myself out of those self-defeating ideas that pop into my head, because I realized, well, maybe I don't know how to do some of the skills yet, but it really just is a matter of learning those skills as I get to them. So it was late in the summer when I decided I'm going to cast on this beautiful shawl, and I basically got right at the beginning and thought, well, I can't do this. And I just ripped it out and just put it away for a while. And that was fine because I wasn't ready to take the time that I needed to learn some new skills. But I found a great YouTube video tutorial. I'm going to link it for you in the description box below, because if you want to make this pattern, I'm going to be leaving all of the links for everything that you're going to need, because this really was something that I had to learn some new things. And once I learned that skill and realized, oh, well, that's not that hard, it's just something I didn't know how to do before, I was off and running. I'm going to give you some of the easy parts, the challenges. There's Jersey boy barking. I don't know if you can hear him or not, but I want to help you if you want to knit something like this for yourself or a loved one. It really just did something for me to knit something for myself right now, because right now it's kind of crazy up in 2020, right? And I needed something, a little self-care, let's just say that. So I feel like $1,000,000 in this shawl. I just feel so like, oh, I feel so pretty in the shawl. And I cannot wait till it's a little bit cooler and I can show it off in public, because I'm really proud of this work. It's not perfect, but nobody is ever going to notice the imperfections. So my first recommendation is to get the right tools to do this project. The great thing is you only need one pair of knitting needles, and these are the Chow Goo. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not, but these are the Chow Goo stainless steel ones. I will link the exact pair that I used in the description box below for you, because these really were perfect for this project. The length of the cord, everything was so wonderful for this project. Now, the yarn I used is called Fiber Seed. I have never seen this yarn before except for in this little coastal knitting shop, and I really love this yarn. You're gonna use a lot of yarn for this project. So I'm gonna show you what I have left of this yarn. These were each 510 yards. And so this is all I have left. So that tells you you're going to use so much yarn for this project. I'm going to tell you the names of these yarns as well. This one is Winter Sky, this one is the Golden Age, and this one is Polar Bear. So I feel like they really looked beautiful when I wanted to recreate that feeling of the ocean and summertime and being at the beach with the whites and the blues and the yellows. And I cannot even get over how much I love this shawl and how it turned out. I also used my Knitter's Pride pom-pom makers to make the pom-poms for this. I made 3 pom-poms. These really work for me and they have different sizes. I honestly can't even find the one that I used to make these pom-poms with. So you could make bigger ones, smaller ones. I actually think these are pretty big pom-poms for this shawl, but I wanted big pom-poms because I love them so much. The Knitter's Pride pom-pom makers come in lots of different sizes, so you can find a link to those in the description box as well. I actually felt like the pattern for the most part was really straightforward. It's basically a bunch of combinations of knits and purls, but I did find 3 separate occasions that was a little bit on the challenging side for my knitting skill set. So first of all was in the very beginning, you pick up some stitches. So I knew how to pick up stitches, but not in this exact way. So I will leave a link for the video tutorial that I used to help me with the beginning part of the pattern. Now I'm also going to demonstrate for you another part of the pattern that was difficult, and that was the make 5. It is super simple. I'm going to demonstrate it for you in just a minute. But the other part of the pattern that is a little bit tricky is if you are not super confident reading a pattern, this is a pattern that you need to read the pattern. There are not a lot of photos. Actually, there's some photos of the finished product, but there aren't helpful photos to learn how to do certain things. The pattern is really well written. There's good notes in the beginning, but if you struggle a little bit with pattern reading, this one might be a bit challenging. Also, it's a lot of repeats. Got to figure out where you are. If you lose your spot, you are in trouble. So I like to use a little sticky note where I am in a pattern, and I kind of move the sticky note down as I'm going. I write all over my patterns. I check mark things off. That way I know exactly where I'm at. So just keep those things in mind, and let's go ahead. I'm going to show you how to make 5. So a make 5 is actually a really simple technique, and all it is you're going to take 1 stitch and you're turning it into 5 stitches. So I'm just going to knit to the middle of this. So now we're going to take this 1 stitch right here and we're going to turn it into 5. So how we do that is we're going to knit and purl into this stitch. So we knit, but we don't take it off our left hand needle. Then bring our yarn forward to purl into that same stitch, purl, and then we take our yarn and bring it back to knit. So that's our 3rd stitch. Then we bring it forward for a purl, and we're still leaving it on our left hand needle. Bring the yarn back to do our last knit stitch. This is our 5th one, and we complete the stitch. So now you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches here, and then we just go through and we knit the other stitches. So as you can see, this is a very simple technique. It's a very simple stitch. There's our make 5 right there. That is a little bit close. The last thing that is super important that you're going to need to do with this shawl is you're going to need to block it. Now, the last thing that you are going to do, is to block your shawl. You must block this shawl. I can't believe that I do this all the time. I forgot to take a before shot. I show you the entire process for how I blocked the shawl. I didn't come up with this. I got all this information from my good buddy Julie Cashin from the Button Jar Studio. I'm going to leave a link for her account in the description box below. She's a knitting genius, so you're going to want to see exactly how I did this, because I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference. My shawl before was like a little crinkled up, little tiny crinkled, wrinkly mess, and then blocking it just helped all those stitches to relax, and it was able to be smoothed out. Why didn't I take a before photo? Why didn't I take before video? I just didn't. You're going to have to take my word for it. It makes a huge difference. So So I've never blocked a human-sized garment before, but I went to my good friend Julie from the Button Jar Studio because she is so knowledgeable, and this is the exact way she told me how to do this. She has a story highlight on her Instagram account if you want to learn exactly how she does it. She is so fantastic. She's been a knitter for a really long time and she taught knitting. So I have some lukewarm water in here. I have a little bit of Woolite, and you just put your knitted project in your lukewarm water and just kind of make sure it gets all soaked in there. I cleaned my sink before I added this. That way everything is nice and washed. So now the thing that I just forgot to add, in the event that this beautiful hand-dyed yarn bleeds, this is my Shawl color catcher, and I'm putting that in there in the event that this bleeds. So hopefully it won't just turn out a mangled mess. It's supposed to prevent color running, so hopefully this little thing's gonna work if there is any bleeding. So now it's going to just sit in here for 20 minutes and just soak, soak, soak. All right, so now my beautiful shawl has been soaking for 20 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and drain my water. Oh, good. There we go. And I'm not going to wring this out. I'm just gonna kind of press the water out a little bit. It's what Julie said to do, and if Julie said to do it, that is the way you're supposed to do it. I am going to rinse mine just a tad bit because I used Woolite and I did not use the non-rinse wool wash. So I'm going to rinse this out just a tad bit. I didn't put much in here. I didn't use much soap, but I'm going to get out as much of it as I can. And the good thing is as I'm squeezing this, there's no soap coming out. So I'm going to just squeeze some excess water out. So the next thing I'm going to do, squeeze out the water. I've got a clean towel. I'm going to spread out here, and I'm going to take my shawl and I'm going to put it right here in my clean towel and just pat it dry. And I'm going to take it upstairs to my blocking mat. So I have my blocking mat laid out on my floor. Now I'm gonna see, I'm not even sure if I'm going to need to pin this on the mat, but I'm going to go ahead and just spread this out. As always, completely forgot to take a before photo. I always forget to do that. My mats aren't quite long enough to be able to spread this all the way out, but it's pretty good, and this will be fine to just kind of push the ends out like this. Now, if you had seen this before, like I should have done and shown you, this was so much smaller. It was so compact because the stitches were all just tight and curled up, and now they've had the chance to relax in the wool wash and in the water, and now I'm going to be able to, I don't want to stretch it out by any means. I'm just kind of bringing in the stitches just a bit so that it's not stretched out, but nice and straight. And what I like about these blocking mats is that I can see, like, this is the edge that needs to really stay straight here. And to let this dry, and I'm hoping that there will be no kitty cats and puppy dogs that want to come and lay down on this. I may have to shut the door, but this is one of Jersey Boy's favorite spots to hang out. I hope that you enjoyed this video today all about a girl's best friend shawl. I absolutely love this shawl so much. I know I keep saying that, but I do. I feel so excited to wear this in public, and I hope somebody stops me and say, oh, what a beautiful shawl you have. Did you make that? And I'm gonna say, yes, I did, because I am so proud of it. If you want to make this shawl for yourself, you're going to find links to everything in the description box below, from the pattern to the needles to the yarn to the videos, everything, so that you can make your very own A Girl's Best Friend shawl. So if you make yours, please let me know. I would love for you to share it with me as well. As always, please hit that like button and that subscribe button, and please hit the little bell to get your notifications for when I publish a new video. As always, stay safe out there and happy stitching.